How is a paddle racket made? Today we are gonna answer that question at the StarVie factory with Felipe de la Rosa, product engineer of the brand. I hope you learn as much as I did.
We're gonna start in what we like to call the pre-production part of the whole process, which is the design. So basically we start with the 3D design, which is we use a 3D CAD software. And for example, here we have the Kenta, and this is like the very first part of the process. We create this.
With this, you create the mold.
Exactly. After we have approved this design, what we have to do is we 3D print the whole mold. So we have different parts. We start with different parts that we know are gonna give trouble when we produce the paddle racket. For example, the heart. So for example, with the Kenta, we started with this, and then we ended up making more prototypes or more samples.
Differences.
And then we gave it more width, and it ended up being like this. And then we do 3D print the whole racket. It's in two parts because it doesn't fit, but we do 3D print the whole racket so we can visualize how it's gonna look when it's produced.
Wow, so with this, with the approval of the final 3D print model, you start the production.
Exactly. Then we go to all the factory processes. Here's where we prepare the materials. We get them already cut into the shape we wanted to fit the molds. We have different densities that give us different hardness. And then we have our tubular frames, which are made of carbon fibers. And then we also receive our fibers, the ones that make up the racket, cut already into a shape that fits the mold. So
the tubular, Felipe, is the structure of the racket.
Like the bone frame, it's what protects the racket.
And what kind of fibers do you use? Because it changes a little bit, right?
Right now we're using carbon fiber tubulars, except in one paddle that we have a mixed tubular, which goes with fiberglass and carbon, 50% and 50%. Okay. We don't see them, but we also have the fibers. So I'm gonna show you here. So we have the fiberglass, which we know is more flexible and gives you that sense of comfort on court. We can go to the carbon fiber, which is the popular one, the one that everybody likes.
And this is carbon fiber 3K.
Exactly.
All right.
Right now we're only working with 3K. It's the hardest, well, not the hardest, but it's one of the hardest carbon fibers on the market. That's why we're known for the hardness of our paddles. The color carbon, which is a mixture of carbon 3K, and it has threads of aluminized color threads, which is lutex. It's called lutex. And then we have in one model the basalto fiber, which is like an intermediate between the fiberglass and the carbon fiber.
This is one of the most important parts for a paddle production. So tell me more about all these things.
Here we shape the paddle to what it's gonna look like afterwards. So we put the fibers we're gonna use depending on the paddle. When we put the fibers, we apply resin so that it sticks and
all together.
Exactly. And then the rubber and the tubular frame, we close it up, and then it goes into the oven for approximately 20 minutes at a certain temperature. Handmade, handcrafted, and we have this specialized, we like to call them craftsmen because it's an art. It's really hard, and they're the ones that make your paddle rackets. In here you have the fibers, you have the foam, and you have the tubular. That's what makes up the paddle racket. The rest of the process, it's what you try to do to make it look perfect, and it's the finishing touches that are really important. But in here, this is the makeup. This is the backbone, the composition.
For example, this is the Kenta, right? And as you can see here, there is the roughness, because the roughness comes with the mold.
It's
right?
Directly in the mold. So what that makes it is that it's not gonna fade over time. What we do is we cut the excess from the borders or from the tubular. Then we cut it to the regulation size from the handle. And then we cut what's called the heart of the racket. And then we're gonna go to what's called the cleaning step, which is where we wash the paddle racket with soap and water. When you wash the paddle racket, you need to take cup and clean this release agent really carefully, or you're gonna have trouble with paint or with the decals in the decoration.
So Felipe, the racket comes to this area several times.
Exactly.
Why?
Correct the imperfections before you apply the paint primer, and then after the primer, you see some imperfections you don't see before, because it comes with a white color and it brings out the pores or some imperfections you're not gonna be able to see before. So then it's what we call more decoration, the decoration part, which is masking the paddle so that you can apply the paint you want depending on the model.
Don't tell me more.
Let's
Can
go.
we go there and
Yes,
see
we
it
can
by
go.
ourselves?
Yes.
Let's go.
Okay, we are at where we put the decals on the paddle racket, which are water transfer decals, and it's where we translate the graphic design that is previously approved into the racket. What we call decoration is painting and the decals of the paddle racket. We have two final steps. We have the drilling of the hole pattern, which are made with CNC machines. This is the industrialized part of the process, which is not done with our hands or anything else. We have different CNC machines. One that makes the hole one paddle by one paddle, but we've invested in a machine that now makes 6 paddles at a time. And then we have what we call the finishing part or termination. So here we're in the finishing stage of the racket. Here's where we put the cord, the cap, and the grip. This year we integrated in our premium line the Noene inside, and also in the Universe line, which is a technology that reduces the vibrations on the racket. And we have 2 types of cords, the one that goes with the wristband and the traditional one we've had all our lives. And after this, the paddles are weighed, and then they never stay here. They all go at the end of the day. They leave the factory, and that's when hopefully you guys buy it and then enjoy it.
You take some responsibility on the rackets, because before it goes selling on a standard store, you try it on a laboratory.
So we have the compression test that we measure the deformation of the foams and the fibers in the paddle racket, and also the hardness, so that we know they're in the ranks we want them to be when it goes out on the market. So the Pro 50 foam is correct, it's the hardest, and then we go down, down, down. And then there's one final part, which is with the cord. What we do here is we have some tools that we can conduct a tensile test. And what is a tensile test is we tense the cord to its maximum to see how much force it takes to break that cord from the handle of the paddle.
Finally, the StarVie Kenta, in this case, is a reality. It requires a lot of time, a lot of development, a lot of research. So thank you for having us and showing us everything, because we learned so much today, man.